So, Nick Diaz just pulled out of his fight with Vicente Luque, and now looking at it now, I don't really know if Nick Diaz should return to fight at all. And I say this from a well-meaning fan's perspective, but looking at where Nick Diaz is right now in his career and how much time has been robbed from him over that 5-year suspension, I can only think of two people in welterweight at the UFC who have been done dirty that bad by Dana White, and that's Nick Diaz and John Fitch. And Nick Diaz, he got busted for, metabolites in his system and had a 5-year when some people have been caught for more severe things, and they're right back in the octagon. And I could tell the frustration of Nick Diaz really wanting to be back in that octagon and back in. But when you look at that Robbie Lawler fight, he had the Nick Diaz output, but he didn't have the Nick Diaz power of old that he used to have. You could tell that the years have affected him, and his body just can't do what it wants. Now, I saw that one video of the guy that looked like Nick outside, and I also saw that might have been faked or not, or is that for publicity, or is that even Nick Diaz? I don't know. I try not to bait onto any, crazy sensationalism right off the bat until I do anymore, so I don't know the authenticity of that. But if we see something like that, or like Nick Diaz is losing his mind or anything like that, I think that makes a little bit more sense, or it's understandable as to why the public believes that would be the case. Because you got to think from Nick Diaz's perspective that, he was one of the baddest dudes at welterweight in the old original OG years of the UFC. And now that he's really desperate to come back and he wants a title shot that he feels like he deserves. And you know what? I think if you look at his career, a title shot, if he was primed and ready for it, would be a fantastic idea. But just, you could tell when he had that quit in him in that Robbie Lawler rematch, it just kind of showed that his comeback was more for marketing purposes, in my honest opinion. No offense to Nick Diaz. I don't want to be acting like I'm becoming a Nick Diaz hater, but it's just calling it like I see and how it plays out. There's a expectation there. Is he going to beat Robbie Lawler a second time? Because that was the perfect opponent for his comeback, as a rematch, because they're both at that point in their career. And I could see Nick Diaz taking more money-style fights of people who are on their way out also. But realistically, a title shot with the way the welterweight division is, or the middleweight division, if he chooses not to cut weight anymore, it's very questionable in his future, and I don't see it ever happening anytime soon. But I could potentially see, if he does want to come back, him versus Tony Ferguson would probably be the perfect matchup. Now, I know Tony placed one glove in the octagon to keep one foot in the door, but I think honestly both those guys should just kind of get sent off in a way that makes sense. Because, Nick Diaz could have beaten Vicente Luque, in my honest opinion, knowing where Vicente is in his career currently right now. But let's look at the elephant in the room. Does he really even need to fight anymore? He's set for life. People know who he is. He's a stud. He's famous. I just don't see all the reasons. I do understand all the reasons why he wants to get back in there. But at the same time, I think it's best to just kind of hang it up. So this is probably a blessing in disguise. Who knows? But I'm just processing it. It's upsetting. It's hard knowing that such an OG is way out the door. But that's what I got to say. Peace out. See you on the next one.